Prequel Live, it's on. My name is Vlad. Hope everyone is joining us. What's up, folks? Are we on? Yeah, we're on. This is another installment of our series where we talk to cool people that know stuff about social media and we ask them for advice for you guys. Today, before we get into the real deal and invite our guest, I'm just reminding everyone about our rules: no spam and no inappropriate language in the comments, because my colleagues are banning those who are being naughty. In the meantime, be active in the chat, ask your questions because we probably will select some of them for our guest, and tell us where you joining in from, and we are more or less ready to welcome Tyler, our amazing VFX artist who we're talking to tonight, today, depending on where you are. And before this, I'll just mention that everyone commenting and leaving their questions in this live stream are automatically becoming part of our giveaway for free 1 year Prequel Gold subscription. So the winners will be automatically randomly selected at the end of the live stream, and we'll publish their names right after the live stream in the description of this video. So be sure to comment to get in. And our guest today is Tyler Tometich, a VFX artist and coach known for his outstanding editing skills and his interesting creative social media presence. He's done work on TV and cinema with Marvel, with Disney, and global level celebrities. He's passionate about motion effects, graphics. He shares all that passion through his educational videos, and he has transitioned to online content recently as his main work. And yeah, he amassed over 400,000 followers in 1 year on TikTok and Instagram. So we'll chat about all this stuff with him in just a second. Is Tyler ready to join? Have you made the request, Tyler? Just a couple of moments before Tyler will send his request to join the live stream. In the meantime, yeah, keep to be considered for the draw of prizes. Hi, people from Argentina. Yeah. Hi. Hi, Tyler.
Hello.
Can you hear me well?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear and see you properly.
It's a little quiet. How are
Wonders
you?
of technology. Good. Good. Excited about today's fun little chat with you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here also.
Great, great. First time for us. Some of our guests return for second rounds and third rounds, so hopefully we make a good impression on you too as a guest. So we were initially attracted to your as a guest because we kept seeing all those videos, all those content pieces from Instagram, actually, on our For You pages and our Explore pages. That's how we got to know you, and of course, it was also pretty exciting to see a person doing those type of educational videos. A person with your background in VFX, VFX artist from yeah, Hollywood. Let's put it out there. Could you just start by giving us maybe a bit of examples how what is the work of VFX artist, professional VFX artist? What's the day-to-day of it, and what skills do you use, and how do you use them? Just for our guests who may not be familiar with this specific.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of people don't know what VFX is. It's visual effects. So that's the effects that are added in post-production. So after the filming is done, then you add the effects afterwards in post.
Absolutely.
Special effects would be on set stuff like live explosions and stuff. So that's the difference between special and visual effects. Um, the day to day, so there's a couple different things I'll talk about. In the industry, you would typically work as a team. So there would be multiple artists working on a campaign. Usually there's an editorial team and they will do the main editing of, say,
Right.
the movie or TV show. And then they cut out little snippets and they send them to the VFX artists. And then, give you a list. Basically, it's a to-do list where you are either adding, say, explosions on top of something, or maybe fixing mistakes to hide things that didn't go right on
Right.
set. So that's like the
Right.
typical job in the movie industry, TV shows, broadcasting, stuff like that. Interesting, it's much different in the online space. So now that I'm a VFX artist for social media and working for brands, I'm kind of just my own boss, so I have a lot more creative freedom, and it's me like doing the planning the shooting, and doing the effects, and it's a lot more short form content as
Yeah.
opposed to longer form stuff that I was
Makes
previously doing.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And not to hold this topic for too long, but Hollywood is often seen a pinnacle of success in a lot of creative industries. Um, Give us the glimpse into like your experience. What how did that inform you working there? What were the highlights? What are the challenges, and how did that like form your path into words?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a little kid, that was the dream, right? Working on movies and seeing your actors on TV, and then I found myself later in my life actually like working on some of these things, and I'm like looking at this stuff like how did this
That
happen?
must be mind
So,
blowing.
I mean, it was, yeah, especially like early on when I got some opportunities like early on to kind of work on some really cool stuff that was super exciting. Um, I'd say the highlights of it was that I got to work on some really cool Marvel campaigns, but really like the best part was being surrounded by other talented people that I just got to learn from them because a lot of them had been in the industry longer than me. So
Right.
I, could pick their brains and they could give me tips and it just like sped up the work, the
Yeah.
learning so
Well,
much, but also working on cool stuff too helped.
yeah.
But a lot of late hours, so it helps to have some
I can
some cool
imagine.
people
I
next
can
to you.
imagine the factory does not stop. Would
Yeah.
you maybe name like your top five favorite projects that you personally like or that you like working on, and we'll just ask the audience to mention which ones they like or which ones they've seen. A bit of interactive, you know.
Yeah. Some that stand out would definitely be some Marvel campaigns that I worked on. So Thor Ragnarok, that was one of the big
Big one.
ones that I first worked on. Captain Marvel, Ant-Man and the Wasp, um, Deadpool. There was a couple campaigns I got to be a
Right.
part of for that, and The Boys.
Yeah.
The Boys was a fun one.
Right. What do you think? Does any of this hold us? Why those ones were specifically interesting or hold a special place in your heart for them?
Yeah, so a lot of I mean anything with the name Marvel tied to it holds a special part
Mhm.
because I grew up like with that dream, and so anytime those came through, it was always such an epic campaign. Like there was so much going on and we were receiving assets from like, these 3D animation studios, and it was just so like epic and official. So it was just an amazing experience to be a part of any of those. But one, so a couple that stand out to me would be Thor Ragnarok. So this was like the first huge campaign that I worked on, and it had so many late nights that I just remember driving home in LA, driving up the freeway as the sun was coming up. So like we
Right.
were just working overnight, like staying in the office just with these crazy deadlines, just day after day after day after day for bits of time.
Yeah.
so
Hope
so
that
it's like
didn't
kind of
ruin
bittersweet.
the. Yeah, bittersweet.
It's yeah, it's kind of like a bittersweet thing where it's like this amazing thing and I was getting to do super creative like 3D tracking stuff in there and stuff that I really love to do. but the hours were just insane. But I was
Okay.
surrounded by other cool people too, so that helped. Yeah, another one that stands out, I don't know if you've heard of Heathers, but this was a
Hmm.
TV show that I actually got to lead and work on by myself and do all the intro sequences all by myself. But what had
Yeah.
happened, because it was kind of dark and violent, there was actually a school shooting that happened,
Yeah.
and so it got pulled at the last minute, so it never
Yeah.
aired properly. It
Makes
got put kind of on the
sense.
back channels. So that's something that was quite an experience too, because we were so
Okay.
excited about it, and yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it got dropped.
Uh, and you left your like full-time Hollywood job to start as a full-time content creator and pursue your own kind of perspective. How did that come about? And do you have any advice for those who might be considering also starting content creation as a full-time job?
Yeah, definitely a loaded question there. There's a lot to that, but so I always dreamed of having this job. Like I had the dream job, you could call it, right? COVID happened, and we started working from home. And this is actually it was actually right before COVID, when I started seeing that there was a social media world of like content creators. I never knew that this existed, and I started seeing people that were doing visual effects and creating this short form content. And these are the types of things that I would do as like practice projects, but I didn't realize there was a whole community online. So
Yeah.
I slowly, as I was still working in the industry, I started like getting inspiration from people like Cash Bunny and Kevin Perry, and started like jumping in a little bit and making my own stuff, and it just kind of snowballed into this whole thing and this passion. I remember at the beginning of COVID, I set this goal that I was going to make one video per month, and it was like hard for me to grasp that because I was so busy, and now I look at it and it's so much
Yeah.
different. It's like a
Now
part
you
of
do
me,
100 a year or something. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a,
and they're
quite a
and the
leap.
tutorials. So that last year was pretty intense. So I had a lot of goals that I was trying to achieve. So as far as like quitting the industry, it kind of just happened. So COVID happened, and I started creating this community online, but it was a side thing, and I started getting
Yeah.
attracted to brands and stuff like this, and actually making money doing it. So in the back of my mind, I knew, hey, at some point I would like to do this full time. Um, what happened was even more recently, there was the writer's strike, and I actually
Of
got
course.
put on furlough from my job. So that was a 3-month furlough where they had to let me go temporarily. And so I was kind of forced to do this full time. And then when they asked me to come back, I actually quit my job. And that was just a few months ago.
Yeah, that's recent, but
Yeah.
kind of in a way sounds like it was very natural progression for you.
I'd say it was kind of meant to be. Yeah. Like I knew it, and instead of trying to figure it out, it kind of just the path kind of laid it itself out. But I did have to stay persistent and reach my own goals during that time and really work hard. So it didn't just get handed to me, but with
Hmm.
the consistency and stuff like that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I actually we have a question pulled from the chat by my colleagues. Just in brief, how did you start out with video VFX and video production, and how long
Yeah.
ago was that?
Yeah, okay. So going back to the beginning, in ninth grade, my buddy actually pulled me into my first editing class, and we used to make little videos around the house, like goofy things, kids like,
What do ninth
ghosts and
graders do?
all these just funny editing things. But he was super talented, my friend Robbie, and later on, like things happened, and I kind of went away from that for a long time. Went
Hmm.
through high school, like had some struggles myself, and um, then I found myself in a place where I needed to make a change in my life, and so I decided later on to go back to college, and I was like, hey, I started playing with After Effects and Adobe Premiere and stuff again, and I made a decision to go to college. I actually remember telling my mom, "Hey, mom, like there's this challenge. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win this scholarship and I'm gonna
Right.
move to Los Angeles. I wasn't in Los Angeles at the time, but I was in California.
Hmm.
I'm gonna win the scholarship. I'm gonna move to Los Angeles and I'm gonna go to college for, media arts or whatever it was, digital
Yeah.
media. And it was kind of just, I was kind of joking, but my mom said, okay. And I'm like, okay. So
So you
anyways, long story
had
short,
to do it for mom after that.
I submitted a video and I won runner up. So I won a $5,000 scholarship to go to this school. I moved to Los Angeles, went to school, um, got through that, graduated with honors, jumped into an internship, which I actually took a free internship. So I didn't go to school for visual effects. I went to school more for like filmmaking and
Hmm.
editing, but I knew that I wanted,
So,
like, I found my way towards visual effects throughout that. And I took an internship at a VFX artist studio. And that was like probably the best thing I could ever do. The experience I got, like I said, working next to somebody who was just so talented, I learned so much more in those like few months than I did throughout my whole life. Um, but anyways, so I'm getting towards the end of the internship and I'm working for free. So it's like it's a struggle, but I took a risk. And actually, somebody that previously worked at my school, my friend Kyle, he was working at another graphic studio, and he actually got me my first paid job. So that was at Greenhouse Graphics in Culver City, and yeah, so that was like my start in the industry, and that was working on movie trailers and stuff like that, and then kind of worked on a couple things and went freelance, and then
one
jumped
thing led
around.
to another. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it was a kind of self-starter, but then also a bit of doing the school for it after those first
yeah,
couple of steps.
yeah. So like I know that if I wouldn't have went to college, I wouldn't have got to work on some of the things I got to, but I also don't necessarily think that you have to go to
Yeah,
college
yeah,
to do the things that you love. Yeah,
of course. But
yeah.
college is good for networking sometimes. Like after
It's a
graduation.
great, and like I said, my
Yeah,
first job came from
yeah,
somebody who
yeah,
actually went to that school.
yeah.
So, I don't know what path I would have taken if it would have
I
been
see. I see.
as great, but
And back to fast forward back to now, and your transitioning from working in the industry to working for yourself on branded projects. You mentioned that you worked with Adobe and Meta and CapCut. How did those come to be? Like for those who are listening to us, those who want to seek out opportunities like that, what do you do?
yeah. So, okay, so like I said, beginning of COVID, I started making content. I started seeing these creators online, and I saw them working with things like Adobe, and it was like a dream in my mind. Oh, I want to work with this brand, blah, 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 blah. And I just kept working, and eventually they reached out to me and started getting my first brand deals. So I worked with Adobe a few times on some smaller campaigns. Um,
Right.
and then actually in 2023, I actually got to go out to Adobe Max and do the whole conference as an insider for Adobe. So that was epic. But that was kind of something that started off small, and then over
Right.
the years, as I've grown my accounts and stuff, it's gotten bigger. And then something else. So last year, I really like blew up my accounts and was able to grow and get a lot more exposure, I guess you could say,
And
and some things really came
engagement.
from that.
Yeah.
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 So some great things came from that. The Adobe Max thing. Also, Meta had reached out to me and they collaborated with me and CarMax and had me go out to their headquarters in Virginia. And I actually taught a whole class and a whole group of people how to create reels and online content.
That sounds dope. And speaking of teaching, you now have two online courses that
Mhm.
you run, that you offer to your followers. One is about content strategy, and one is about VFX. Can you can you speak about those courses briefly, and like what is the difference between them, and what are the similarities between them? And
Yeah. So, okay. So I make a lot of tutorials online,
right,
but they're quick tutorials. You can only teach so much. So I get a lot of requests for like, hey, how can I learn more? You know, and I assume people don't want to necessarily go to college. So I've got, I'm building one course that is how to kind of grow your social media and leverage visual effects to use it as hooks and really get attention and create that strategy if you are like a brand or an influencer or content creator. So that course is to really like utilize your content to grow. Then I have a boot camp that I've built that is just a quick like 10-day boot camp that takes you through these lessons. And that would be for people who just want to get started and they're seeing content online and they just don't know where to start and like what tools to use, what apps to use, stuff
Right.
like that. So it's a little mini course, starter course.
Right. Makes sense. By the way, everyone commenting will get in their DMs with the help of our bot a couple of tips from Tyler about social media strategies. So yeah, look for those in your DMs. And you mentioned a couple of times that you gained a lot of exposure, specifically last year. You grew over 500,000 followers across two social media platforms. That's very impressive. If you were to name a couple of key strategies or a couple of key things that you think were instrumental in those, what would you name?
Yeah, so growing on social media is not easy. I think a big part of being a creator is that we have so much emotional attachment to the things that we do. So I actually was mentored by somebody who really helped me kind of shift my mindset. But in the process, I had to disconnect that emotional part, and set aside my ego and really like realize that, especially how busy the social media world is now, that it's really like 80% strategy and just 20% of the content. So something that I put out there and I used to assume everybody else is going to like it, and that's not the case, right? So you have to really like provide value to your viewer if you want them, to follow you. So, as cliche as it sounds, consistency is one of the key factors. Like no matter
Right.
what you're doing, consistency. So last year I was testing a lot of different formats,
Okay.
and when I found the ones that were working and resonating with people, I repeated those. So it's like keep, test formats and then keep doing what's working. Don't do
Right.
something,
Right.
have it go viral, and then do something completely different the next day, because
Right.
that's one of the most common mistakes that you see with creators. And then definitely networking. So just like in the industry, on social media, like collaborating and networking with people within your similar niche, it's one of the biggest things that you can do.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You said you have to detach from your own emotional, like, from what you personally like to serve the audience
Mhm.
better. Would you say that you have now some kind of emotional attachment with your audience through like knowing their tastes or knowing what they like?
Yeah, let me elaborate real quick. So detaching more of my
Yeah.
ego, I would say, not my emotional attachment, because I'm still creating things that I love, right? So
Hmm.
if I were to take all the things that I can do, and then the things
Hmm.
that I like to do,
Yeah.
and then the things that people enjoy that I like to do, it just kind of goes. So it's still in the realm of like me being emotionally tied to it. Otherwise, it would just be a job and it wouldn't be fun. Um,
That's the
sorry, what
difference.
was
That makes a difference.
can you repeat the question? What was the
Question
actual question?
is, do you have some kind of emotional attachment to your subscribers? Do you know what they like? Do you understand
Mm.
like what they want, what they don't?
For the most part, yeah. 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 So like in the past, I would just be creating stuff, didn't know why I was creating it. I didn't know who I was creating it for. So the big part of the strategy, sorry, what's the counter going off up there? Um,
Good.
So a big part of the strategy is finding your target audience, right? So this is like one of the main key factors is figure out who you are creating this content for. Like obviously I'm creating it for me in a sense, but if I
Mhm.
want to grow on social media, I have to take it serious and there has to be somebody that I'm speaking to. So my target audience is people that are similar to me, maybe like 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So I can speak directly to that person and I can go, okay, well, what would have been helpful for me 5 years ago. And
Yeah,
if
that
I'm providing that in a sense of value, then I know that people will also find it valuable. And then you just kind of figure out like, does the audience react more to like superhero type stuff or, more serious stuff and stuff like that. That's where the testing comes in.
you keep adjusting as you go.
Yeah. Adjust, test, have fun.
Right, right,
So,
right. And with
and
that
ask, you
phase that
can
went
also
on,
ask them too.
right, right.
Yeah.
Always ask your audience. You mentioned doing over 100 tutorials over 1 year. Can you kind of mention your creative process? Is there a team behind it? Are you doing everything yourself? Do you outsource some of the things?
Yeah. So going back to April of last year, I was sitting at around 30,000 followers. And this is when I started taking this seriously and started deciding that like, hey, I really want to like put everything I have into this. And I was still working a 9 to 5 job too, and I have 2 kids. So my life is very busy. Um, so no, I don't have a team behind me, but at this
Mm.
time, what I started, like I said, I started working with a mentor and I started like kind of shifting my mindset and figuring out what I needed to do to grow on social media. So part of that was like started testing all different types of formats. And when I started finding stuff that people were resonating with, then repeating that and then really like fine tune my strategy. And once I had a couple videos go viral, I just started nailing down tutorials every single day for like almost 90 days straight. Um, and it was exhausting, but my account skyrocketed hundreds of thousands of followers in that time. So it's a lot of work. And you just have to be patient and you have to know that like your time will come if you put in the work and you're consistent because I always thought like, oh, I'm never gonna have 100,000 followers. And now like
And
uh,
I have
it's
more.
and now
Yeah,
that the bar just keeps raising. You hit that
keeps
and
raising.
it just becomes normal. And I don't take it for granted, but it took me a long time to just hit 10,000 followers. And then it took, you know, it's it's insane.
It's crazy. Yeah. Congrats on the
Yeah.
success. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
And
during that, so to answer your question, no, I don't have a team. Towards the end, I do have somebody who helps me edit a little bit, but for the most part, it's all me right
it's
now.
all you.
So yeah.
Okay. So it's about giving yourself a challenge and stepping up to it. That's
I mean, I wish I had a team behind me, but it's also another challenge trying to build that. So
right.
mm, yeah.
You mentioned that you would stick to formats that you think worked
Mhm, mhm,
after a couple of tries. Um, Even on your account, we can see some videos that are pretty similar or talk about the same phenomenon, talk about the same technique, but they can have like 15 times more views. Like the second one has 15 times
mhm.
more views than the first one. Do you think it's more of a question of chance, or is it about like repackaging, recycling the content in a smarter way? What is it?
Yeah. Definitely not chance.
Mhm.
I'll always go towards strategy. So, for instance, you're talking about like repurposing content, right?
Right, right.
Um,
Yes, repurposing,
yeah, so
repackaging.
so repurposing content is a part of strategy that you can use because, creating new content all the time is exhausting. So if you can slide something in there that maybe didn't do well in the past and you can repackage it to where, so for instance, like last year, I would say Instagram, the algorithm found my audience, right? I never understood what that meant, but like it actually found the audience that resonates with my content. So now I know who that audience is and I can make content and it'll perform, you know, well for the most part. So I didn't have an audience before that. So I created a video and not many people were seeing it because it was just my friends that followed me and blah blah blah. So then later, after I have this audience, then I know, okay, well, they're resonating with this. So then I can try it in a different format, repurpose it, repackage, as you said, and it, could potentially blow up.
Great. Great insights, I would say, our kids in the audience are getting today. And probably to wrap up the whole tutorials part of conversation, um, how do you select? A lot of your work is dissecting other people's work or dissecting other people's videos. How do you select what to dissect, what to talk about, what to recreate?
Yeah. So this is one of the formats that I was saying that I tested, and people were really liking it. And I think the reason is because you look at these videos that have already done well because they're, they catch attention, and then you can just say like, hey, now I'm going to teach you how to do that. So as far as like looking for that content, the views do play a role in it, but I'd say something that I try to make my account stand out differently is that a lot of these videos that you see online are not made with free software. They're made with
Mhm.
like, After Effects and things that are a little bit more complicated. They have a higher learning curve, and they cost money. So what I try to do is I try to look at something, and if I know that I can recreate that complicated thing and make it very simple for just like the average person in a free software, that's kind of more my goal.
Right.
And obviously, like yeah.
That's a good ethos. Uh, Exciting.
So like
If some
take
of our
something
viewers,
epic,
yeah,
take something epic and make it easier
accessible
to make. And it might not be a
for
perfect version
more
of
people.
it, but it's, more attainable.
It's the same direction. Yeah. If any of our viewers from our account maybe not familiar with Tyler's work, be sure to check out his tutorials, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that you can learn from him any day. And just as a conclusion to conversation, looking ahead to 2024, you mentioned in private that you have big and exciting plans. Could you speak about those a bit?
Yeah, so I have some exciting collaborations in the making. I'm not going to talk about those because they're not live yet. But one of the big things that I'm really focusing on is building a community and teaching more people, and then also putting together a team. So like, having some people behind me to where I can, I guess, scale a little more, but also just be able to focus on the things that I want to focus on while
To make things
still
sustainable.
creating good content and stuff. So
Right.
that's the main big plans, and just keep
Great.
doing what I'm doing
Great.
and
What can I
grow the
say? I
courses.
can only wish you the best with those and shower you with compliments. Everyone, a round of applause for Tyler. Um, we have been getting a repeated question about your beginnings. Just a reminder that this live stream is going to be posted as a recording after this conversation. So feel free to watch from the start and rewind because Tyler did speak about that. Um, we also getting so many compliments from the audience. Tyler helped me overcome my fear of starting. Forever thankful. Tyler's the only person I know and trust. We were in the 30-day content creator together. It's always endearing to when we have these live streams with guests when guests audience actually shows up for them and showers them with compliments. It's so great to see. So really,
Yeah, that's nice.
congrats to you and everyone. Just like I hope this can make you feel inspired about following a similar path, maybe, or starting your own thing like Tyler did. Do you have any wrap up comments or questions? Something you maybe wanted to mention but forgot?
Um, I'll I'll throw in one more tip based on that comment about like getting over fear. Um, I I have a lot of fear every day. I second guess myself. But I would say if you are looking to get started, don't be afraid to just look at something that's already been done and then recreate it. So in the early stages, instead of trying to like think of your own ideas because that can be overwhelming, you don't know where to start. Just take things that you see that you resonate with and that you could put some passion behind and just try to recreate that and then see if it, excels into something more.
Right. Absolutely. Starting from watching the others and faking until you make it kind of also somewhere there in terms of advice. No, thank you so much, Tyler. It was such a great conversation. I hope that we have more of those in the future, and we'll keep liking each other's posts and stuff like that. Have a great day, and reminder to everyone who's interested in a giveaway of our promo codes that we'll announce those after the recording. Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you for having me. You have a good day too.
Cheers. Bye.